National Tight End Day. The Browns and the Commanders win in the final moments, and the Cardinals and Patriots score massive upsets. Let's talk about the biggest takeaways from the Week 8 action. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, sponsored by Locker. You sign up for Locker now with the promo code WIRE, W-I-R-E. Receive a $50 deposit match. I'm Jim Coventry. You can catch me over at Jim Coventry NFL. Instant reaction number one. The Cleveland Browns upset the Baltimore Ravens. These divisional matches are always crazy. And somebody had asked me before the game about, the Ravens and the point spread. I'm like, you know what? Lay off the divisional games. We never know what's going to happen. And I really felt like Cleveland has a quarterback now. And I really believe their defense knew they had to do more than they could because they had to overcome that quarterback they used to have. Well, now they have Jameis Winston, and he's not the greatest quarterback in the world. We know that. But he could do some things, and he could do a lot more than the former quarterback did. And I really feel a big weight was let off of their shoulders for this entire team. And I believe that the familiarity with Baltimore, they played them enough. Now, this is a different version of the offense. We'll talk about Baltimore in a minute. Of course, Derrick Henry is the big difference. But Cleveland has a very, very formidable defense. They have a great pass rush. Their secondary is outstanding. Linebackers aren't as bad as they were a few years ago. They're not the greatest, but they're okay. Overall, the divisional intensity, right? And they had Lamar Jackson. Jackson had a good game for fantasy. He was fine. But they had him on the run a lot, and they were able to really create a lot of pressure. And Derrick Henry got his 39-yard run. But other than that, Cleveland had answers for him. Now, these teams could play next week, which they're not going to, and we could see, and it would maybe be Baltimore scoring 40 points. Maybe they would. But in this game, I talk about the one-game bounce. Like when Russell Wilson had his one start, I said, you know what? They're going to have a one-game bounce here. They're going to play really well with him. And with Jameis, this is a one-game bounce. And maybe it lasts longer. Maybe it does last longer. It could. But here's what happened. Baltimore is down two corners. That's important. And I said going into this game, Winston and the receivers had a chance because Baltimore would score points and the Browns would have to try to keep up with them. And what we saw, Nick Chubb didn't have a bad game. 16 for 52 against the Ravens is not a bad game. And he wasn't going to do much more than that. It just is what it is. He had a couple of good runs. There were a couple of times, the Ravens are one of the best run defense in the league, and they don't have to send extra bodies to slow the run. So this was one of the worst matchups Chubb would have. I'm optimistic about Chubb going forward because what we saw now, he had 16 carries to 5 for Deontay Foreman. So it only took 2 weeks, and Chubb is he had 11 carries last week. Very clearly the guy. In the passing game, what we've learned right now, we know Jameis Winston likes to throw downfield. 27 of 41, 334, and 3 touchdowns. And all 3 of their top receivers and the tight end, they all had big games. Now, Winston's not throwing for 334 every week. Maybe it's Joe Flacco time. Maybe he will. But, no Murray Cooper, weird. But Tillman, the downfield guy, right? He is a downfield guy. And 7 for 99 and 2 touchdowns, 9 targets. Again, benefited greatly. No Nate Wiggins. I know Humphrey plays a slot a lot, but he'll move around a little bit too. So he's not always in the slot, but they're a very fortunate matchup. I was saying earlier, Cleveland had most of their offensive line back. Their left tackle, Jedrick Wills, is out. DeJuan Jones is a good enough replacement. They got Wyatt Teller back on the interior. The line was good. And this line could become not a great line. It's not the great line was 3 years ago, but this could be a decent line. So I'm optimistic about the Browns being a fun team the rest of the way. Elijah Moore gets 12 targets. Jerry Jeudy had 8. They both had, 79 yards for Jeudy, 85 or more. They did fine. All 3 of them are fantasy options. And Njoku, 61 yards and a touchdown. So look, enjoy Cleveland right now. We'll watch the matchups, but I think in many games with that line, with Chubb, defenses can't just play one way or the other. You really have to defend them. And Stefanski is still a good coach. So again, very, very optimistic for the fun part of the Browns going forward. Tillman, 80 yards last week, 12 targets, 9 targets this week. Again, the downfield guy. There might be a little boom or bust to that. But fortunately, I think a number of us, myself included, started Tillman in some leagues, and it was very useful. But this was a big game. And there are games where he's going to face a top corner as the top outside receiver, and he could have some struggles. But Tillman was a good prospect coming in, third round pick. Very good prospect. And I do think with a big arm quarterback, I think we could see the best of what we could have expected. So I do think Tillman, you start him. You start him as a wide receiver 3, and you hope for more, and you hope for more, and you might get more. But I think you start him there. Judy had less than Elijah Moore, but I still tend to trust Judy as a PPR flex play more than Elijah Moore. But Elijah Moore has been playing, and I didn't think they'd play as many 3 receiver sets as they did. And I still think they could go back to 2 tight end sets and run the real Stefanski offense. And if they do that, one of those receivers comes off the field. And I do have to think it would be Elijah Moore, but I could be wrong. We'll have to see on that. But Njoku is going to be obviously high floor, good ceiling the rest of the way. The Baltimore side, look, nothing to hang their heads about, right? Everybody you needed to come through did. Zay Flowers got his 115 yards, 12 targets, shook off the ankle injury, did great. Derrick Henry, only 73 yards. That's a great game for anybody, right? But only 73 yards. He gets in the end zone. So again, you're not upset at all with Derrick Henry's performance. Lamar Jackson runs for 46, 2 touchdowns through the air, 289. Again, nothing wrong with that. This is a good defense they played, and and even Mark Andrews. 3 games in a row with touchdowns. Should be 4 games ago. Remember, Lamar underthrew him on that easy touchdown, and that was against Cincinnati, I believe. But Andrews is a big red zone factor for them right now, and so it's coming through. Now, if you started Bateman, we said we didn't really like the matchup. He had a 28-yard catch, 5 targets. Didn't really go well for him, but ultimately that ends up being the end of that. All right, let's get to our instant reaction number 2. We have Jayden Daniels competing with Caleb Williams. It was a weird week, right? We were very, very nervous about Jayden Daniels, not knowing, did he really do some practice on Friday? Were he playing mind games? Very hard to say what we're going to get going with this, but I'll tell you this. So Jayden Daniels, 326 and a touchdown. But if you watch the game, and hopefully you saw the end, because they didn't score an offensive touchdown Washington the whole game. They got the ball close. They had a Zach Ertz drop in the end zone early, real close, but the 4 field goals. And then they get to the last play of the game, and I'll get to the Bears side in a minute. We got to give the spoils to Jayden Daniels because he won the game. So the Bears, again, winning with seconds left. And I don't even know the yard line the ball was. I was near the 50. I'd just say near the 50. I wish I could tell you what the yardage was on it. I could tell you they're on their own 48. That's exactly their own 48. And Jayden Daniels runs around and buys a lot of time. And he throws up his Hail Mary. It's short. It's not going to get there. I had to rewatch the scrum, but the ball got tipped around and batted backwards. And I got to see if, one of the Commanders guys tipped it backwards or if the Bears just botched it. Noah Brown is just standing there in the end zone, ball, like literally, oh, look, thank you. Ball in his hands. Commanders win 18-15. Those were betting the game, and they bet the Bears. They had to be like sick because it was like cashed. But they didn't. And Jayden Daniels wins the game. Now, Jayden Daniels runs 8 for 52, and we would be nervous in this game that Jayden Daniels, would not, be able to run much. And the time they wrapped up his ribs, they put like ace bandage around his ribs, and that was interesting here. So, but all that said, that big Hail Mary. So now, Uncle Ted, I got to rewatch that game because I'm writing all these notes for these reaction shows. I got to rewatch that last play. I'm excited to see that. And I wish I want to get the show in now, but So you said purpose to volley the football backwards. So usually that's what you try to do. But I got to rewatch that play because I want to rewatch it 3 or 4 times probably too. But yes, so if you saw that, there definitely was a craziness involved there. Just great. But so with that Hail Mary, Daniels 326 and a touchdown, 52 on the ground. So if you started him for fantasy, he came through because you're looking 16 points for passing, 4 for a touchdown. It's 25 points. So you started him, and I got bailed out because I recommended him to people. And if he didn't get that Hail Mary, right away you're taking 7 or 8 points off, and you're looking 18, and it's like sketchy. 25, nobody's arguing. The run game didn't really get going here. The Bears did put a little extra attention on the run game. It was like they were successful. Washington was very successful, but they didn't get the idea to go 20 carries per, like, for Brian Robinson, 16 for 65, good game. Austin Eckler had a 29-yard garbage run at the end of the half. So that 7 for 52 was a little bit, it counts for fantasy, you'll take it. But in terms of like the flow of the game, it wasn't like that 29-yard run was part of it. It was like the time was run out in the half. So it was just like, here, just take the ball and see what you get. So there was that. But we love it for fantasy. So no problem there. How do you say anything negative about Terry McLaurin? I mean, 5 for 125. They didn't. I was surprised the Bears didn't just say, you know what, we're gonna travel Jalen Johnson. You're not worried about Luke McCaffrey, other than a Hail Mary. You're not worried about Noah Brown. You're not worried about De'Ami Brown. And there were plays I saw a secondary corner on McLaurin, and I thought that was irresponsible. And I might be wrong. I might be wrong on that. So, all that said, McLaurin has a game. It sounds insulting, and I don't mean it this way. I can't put McLaurin outside the top 15 receivers the rest of the way. Maybe it's higher. He doesn't get a ton of targets. So that's about, it. So, all that said, McLaurin has a game. Ertz goes 7 for 77, 11 targets. That's something about the offense that has to eventually change. They're winning, so nobody cares, but they've got to get more explosive in that area of the field. They got to get somebody else involved. Fantasy managers will take that 7 for 77. The Bears, it was a mess. It was a total mess. I don't think Williams had 60 yards going into the fourth quarter. And the Bears ended up getting a couple chase drives late. They moved the ball a little bit. The three receivers get something done late, very little. But Williams had done nothing. And late in the game, the Bears did get the go-ahead touchdown. But before then, the Bears had the ball on the 1-yard line. I live in Chicago. I have seen the bumbling Chicago Bears forever. They hand the ball to an offensive lineman. The handoff doesn't even get to him. The ball bounces off them, goes to the defense. It looked like the Bears gave the game away. Like I said, fortunately, they got the ball back. They got the short touchdown from Roschon Johnson, 2 carries, 6 yards, and a touchdown. The only bright light of this offense was DeAndre Swift. He got going in the second half. Beautiful 56-yard touchdown run. Didn't do a lot in the first half, but really carried the team, gave them a chance to get back in this thing. DeAndre's has been great for four or so straight weeks. After they fixed the running game, they made more of quick, decisive run game. Better for him. Look, I don't care who wins and loses these games. I love them all. I love all the teams. And I'm not making an excuse for anybody because I don't care about that. I talk about the subliminal switch all the time. I learned it watching NBA when I was young. And when a top player was out, a team would play down. I think Dan Quinn was great playing mind games with the Bears. The Bears preparing for 2 quarterbacks, probably thinking Jayden Daniels wasn't going to play. I have to think in the back of my mind, the Bears underestimated Washington. And I think that could have been something to do. Again, does it matter? No. I'm happy Washington won. I'm very happy for them. But I have to think the Bears were not this bad. They were getting better. The performance couldn't have been worse. I'm going to scrap this for the Bears and say, you know what? I think better days are coming. Let me take a quick look at any comments if there are any pertinent to the game. I see terminal sarcasm. I'll appreciate you, man. Thank you for that. Lex talks about Dowdle out. Do you pick him up and play Tolbert, Cook, or Warren? I will answer this because you know what? I would give Tolbert a whirl. I don't like the cornerback matchup, but I do think Dallas trails here. Dalvin Cook, it's not a bad matchup, but the last time I saw him on the field, he didn't look good. And Dallas's offensive line isn't getting any push. So I'm a little bit worried there. And then same here. This has to do with Sunday night game. I would play Pearsall over Cook. I do think he gets 4 or 5 catches. Cook is just really risky. Could he get a goal line touch? Yes. I just don't know how much they're going to utilize him. The fact it took him this long to promote him from the practice squad, and that was before the illness came upon Dowdle, it really makes me wonder what he has because they could have moved that a while back. Anything else here? And then let's see. Leah, appreciate the nice comment about putting in the work. John, yeah, I know the Otten thing. I know Otten goes off. What a massive game. McBride did have a good game, but Otten was huge. So yeah, if you started, it looks like you may have started him. But Otten, it would have been the grandson. So sorry you didn't start him. But I know it's all probability. I know, and but man, Otten had a game. It was insane. So happy for those who played him, but sorry for those I recommended somebody like McBride. It's hard to sit McBride and he was active. But again, all right. Okay, everyone, let's talk about Locker, the new innovative fantasy app where you try to predict the upcoming plays on the field. When I play the Blitz contest on Locker, I can pay attention to the game flow and the player usage, make predictions about upcoming drives. The points I get give me a chance to finish the money. The 50-50 contest that Locker has. They have a bunch of different contests structured. They're all centered, answer questions in real time about upcoming plays and drives. More accurate you are, the more money you win. We also have a special RotoWire League. You can join it for $10, and you can join anytime because you can play as many Locker contests you want. Your best 10 scores are the ones that go in. So you can sign up for Locker now with the promo code WIRE and receive a $50 deposit match. Again, join the RotoWire Locker League and showcase your play calling skills with real cash on the line. All right, we're going to have another instant reaction here. So we are going to say instant reaction number 3. The Cardinals stun the Dolphins. I was not happy with Mike McDaniel, the coach in this game. The Dolphins were in good shape in this game. Yes, it was only 13-7 at the half. They had blown some opportunities to be aggressive. I don't know what exactly they were doing because Tua was throwing, but the play calling was disjointed. They did not take advantage of a team they could have put the foot on the gas, especially in the second half. Miami began to just not aggressively attack. Tyreek Hill has 69 yards in the first half. He had 3 in the second half. Inexcusable. A team with very little pass rush, a team with very little in coverage. Jaylen Waddle, 4 for 45. It was great to see Devon Achane do very well. And I'm going to talk about the loser here first because I really was stunned. But I really think that Mike McDaniel, he showed in his first couple of years signs of being like a genius. I don't know now because there are just, I think he figured out some things, some way to use the speedy players he had. But when the league's made adjustments, I just don't see him being that difference maker. The good news for fantasy investors, Devon Achane, when this offense is on the field, you've got to worry about the receivers. So Achane is going to be a great opportunity. He played 10 for 97 on the ground. He had a 47-yard run in there, 6 for 50 through the air and a touchdown. So again, with defense worried about Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle, I mean, Achane's going to be a beast. Of course, Mostert vultures 2 touchdowns. So if you started Mostert, you were happy at 9 for 19, but he scores twice. So you're like, I'll take that all day, every day. Tua, 234 and a touchdown, 28-38. Like I said, there was a lot more there. They could have been the quick hitting passing they want to use. I just don't think the offense was called well. So there's that, and we'll call it a day. I do think, though, they will figure some basic things out, like getting Tyreek Hill the ball. They got him 9 targets. It wasn't enough. He needed 15 targets in this game. Their fault. They blew it, and Miami really could have used the win here. They're 2-5 now. It was a win they really, really needed. I got some friends now. I got Charlene, Jamie, Terminal Sarcasm, JKM, Jeff Marcus. Good to see you. I have a question for tonight. Debo or Pearsall? Look, I will go Debo. We don't know what the pneumonia thing is, but if I will say, even if he gets 5 or 6 touches and then he rolls, I think he would put up potentially for more than Pierce. So I would go with him there. All right, let's see what else we got here. And we got Uncle Ted in the house and that games. Appreciate everybody. John Rubright, Lee Ving. Thanks everybody for being here. All right, so Arizona side, they get it done. Congratulations to Arizona. They're 4-4. They've won some games we thought they weren't going to win. This is a big road win for them. Very, very excited about them. So that said, Kyler Murray, because they were chasing late, and Miami kept giving the ball back. Miami just wasn't, again, they weren't putting the foot down on the gas. And so Murray throws for 307 and a couple of touchdowns. James Conner, dude is a beast. And we know this. You hear me talk about Mullen. He lost 10 yards on a run in this game because it was just a poorly designed play. And then everybody in Miami's in the backfield, and Conner tried to salvage it. Didn't work. But 20 for 53. Yeah, that's not great, but he scores a touchdown and he goes 2 catches for 16. So look, if you tell me 69 yards, a couple catches and a touchdown, it's not a bad game. What I top of my head, 14-ish PPR points. You live with that. Michael Wilson limped off at one point. I'm not sure if he came back in watching all these games at the same time. So there's that. But Marvin Harrison, 6 for $111 and a touchdown. So it was good to see him. And in the start-sit show, I was kind of cautious with that. I was telling people that, they're going to trail, which they did. And I said, there's a good chance he could get some chasing, points chasing. And he did. I didn't call the big game, but we're happy he got it. And I think there was a good reason to put him in there. So that was a good thing there. And so all that said, I see Charlene said you put in Murray and bench Daniels. They probably were close on points. They had to be like Murray probably, they were right there. So you look at 15, 23. I think they were within 1 point of each other from fantasy. So it didn't matter which one you started. And then Dak or Russell Wilson. Oh man, you need 20 points. I would almost be inclined. Dak's been real problematic against San Francisco the last couple times. Nick Bosa is probably going to be in his grill. Two tackles are rugged and bad rugged, like not good. The center is not good. I'm not excited about Russell Wilson, but I probably would give him a shot because I struggle to see Dak having a big game. Jamie, thanks for the kind comments that you look forward to being here on Sundays. So back to the Arizona. Trey McBride does get it done. Like I said, I had the one question, Ottner, McBride. I did go McBride 9 for 124. You can't argue with that. You know, I mean, that's a big game. The touchdowns are fickle. You never know when those are going to come in. He didn't get them. But again, the fact that McBride goes off on 11 targets, that was great to see. So Arizona, look, the offense hasn't been great week to week. There's a chance they put things together. So we're excited about that idea. So I do think Arizona, you keep starting Murray. He's going to have a down week here and there. But I think unless you have a great option, you start Murray each week and you kind of go from there. All right. We are going to cover more of this week's reactions after we take a short break. All right. Instant reaction number 4. The Patriots turn the lights out on the Jets. I don't know what to make of the Jets right now. I did not look. New England's gutted on defense. They've lost so many people. Barmore's not been around, and the names are evading. They've lost so many people. They don't have much left, and this is a defense that's struggling because of the lack of bodies, high end talent that they normally have. And I don't know how you come in with, and I know the line hasn't been very good. The line is Tyron Smith looks old. I get that. And I know that Elijah Vera Tucker was out, but New England they have a decent pass. They have a decent pass rush. I will definitely give them a decent pass rush, but they've been run on. And you got Breece Hall, and you got Garrett Wilson, and you got Devontae Adams. How do you not put together something offensively? And Todd Downing, look, he used some play action last week, used some motion, and that was a good thing. But they couldn't have done better at offensive coaching. I know Rodgers is obviously there's a problems with Rodgers. I get it. And I know Rodgers is tough to be around. But how can you not do better? Nathaniel Hackett was around before, and I know he's somehow involved. It's a real problem. And this team, they're 2-6. And I can't imagine the tone. The defense has to be ticked that Robert Saleh's gone. The offense has to be like, what's Aaron Rodgers doing here? Even though they're his buddies, Garrett DeMonte's his buddy, but they've got to be frustrated. Breece Hall, they're not getting him in any rhythm after basically icing out smartly Braylon in the last 2 weeks. Well, Allen gets 12 carries to 16 for Breece Hall. That's not helping you win. I get it for fantasy, whatever, but Breece Hall, like that 82% last week, that is your solution. It's Breece Hall and then everything else off of that. If defenses overload the box, then you got to use some play action. I know Aaron Rodgers doesn't like it, but this season is going to circle the drain. And Devontae Adams, 4 for 54. I know it's the second game with them. This is not encouraging for him. Garrett Wilson, 5 for 113. Need less attention on him. Garrett Wilson right now, wide receiver 2. It's hard to put in the wide receiver 1. You can't really put him there, especially now splitting targets. So there's a problem there, but that's not good. Anyway, can't spend too long talking about this hideous Jets team. Drake May for the Patriots goes out with a concussion early. If you started him, I said it was a bad matchup. All 3 corners were healthy for the Jets. Thought it was going to be a bad matchup. Drake May played a few snaps. He rushed for 46 yards and a touchdown. So if you started him in fantasy, you ended up getting like 11 fantasy points, and it's not what you wanted. But for less than a quarter of play, if you got 11 points, you end up saying, you know what? Not the worst day in the world, right? So you could take it. Not that you wanted it. Ramondre Stevenson, in theory, was a good matchup. I was a little bit back of my mind concerned the Jets would sell out to stop the run, and they kind of did. So Stevenson goes 20 for 48, but he scores 2 touchdowns, and he catches 3 passes. So if you start him in fantasy, You end up with 65 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 catches. It's a good fantasy day. So we kind of were pushing Stevenson as a decent play, and he did okay there. The receivers, look, Hunter Henry, 5 for 45. You'll take that. It's going to be hard to project out receivers. Demario Douglas wasn't going to have a good matchup because slot corner was back for Michael Carter was back for the Jets. That wasn't going to be a good matchup. But that said, Demario Douglas, better days are definitely coming. Patriots are 2-6, so are the Jets. Didn't see that one coming at all. Charlene, I think we will talk about the Bills and the Seahawks, so we'll definitely talk about that momentarily, which probably is a good time now to bring us to instant reaction number 5, which is the Bills roll the Seahawks. So in this game, first of all, Amari Cooper did nothing. Doesn't matter. What I'm going to simply say is this. The Amari Cooper thing, I pointed this out before last week's game. And I talked about in the preseason. You guys are with me. Remember this. I said that in the state of this team, again, no Amari Cooper, defenses were definitely going to stuff bodies in the short and intermediate area, tighten up the windows, dare Josh Allen to beat him over the top. And we saw that offense get very, very limited. So under that premise, you bring in Cooper, and immediately defenses have to play you differently. And it was the way it was going to be. It's the way it's going to be. Right now, the Bills score 31 against the Seahawks. Now, the Seahawks didn't possess the ball long. Everything worked. It was a rainy day in the first half, really, really rainy. But right now, with Cooper's presence on the field, again, Cooper only had 2 targets, 1 catch for 3 yards. But what did that do? Keon Coleman, 5 for 70, and a beautiful one-handed touchdown catch. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful catch. Khalil Shakir, 9 for $107. Dawson Knox, 50 yards. Kincaid scores a touchdown. This is what Amari Cooper does for you. Now, like I said, I'm going to repeat it. Teams can't overload the short and intermediate area. It's a completely different game for Josh Allen. Allen only runs for 25 yards, so what? He throws 283, 2 touchdowns. First interception of the season. Everybody's talking about no interceptions. He threw one. No problem. They roll 31-10. So James Cook also benefits from the offense now, because now with the secondary receivers looking better situationally, this is an easy matchup for Cook. But 17 for $111 and 2 touchdowns, 3 catches for 22. Seattle was an easy matchup, but Cook took advantage of it. Cook was a great play this week. Ray Davis, mostly the game was over. He came in. Seattle side, look, I will just say it real simply. I was very worried, and you hear me say these same concepts over and over, but they really do apply. DK Metcalf was out. And like I said about Amari Cooper on the other side, with no Metcalf, now you treat the Seahawks very differently. You got Smith and Jigba, who's a slot and a slasher. You've got Tyler Lockett, who's no longer much of a vertical threat. And opposite of what happened to the Bills defense could come in and overload the short and intermediate area on the Seahawks. And the Seahawks paid. First of all, without the spacing that DK Metcalf allows you to have because of the verticality, Kenneth Walker had no room to run. I was worried about that. 9 carries, 12 yards. He does catch 4 for 33, so for PPR, he gets it done a little bit for you. But Kenneth Walker he's a great explosive back, but he was really reliant upon that spacing with Metcalf. Charbonnet, 3 for 4, he gets a garbage touchdown. Game was over. It's the only touchdown they scored. Smith and Jigba, the only receiver more than 34 yards. He goes 6 for 69. Tyler Lockett does nothing, 1 for 9. Bobo, 1 for 15, nothing. Again, the field was compressed. Here was my word with Ryan Grubb. I tell you guys and gals this all the time. These college coaches come in to run an offense. In college, your guys are either wide open, your scheme is impossible to beat. What ends up happening? Well, you got to make adjustments. Defenses immediately make adjustments in the NFL. These college coaches don't have to make adjustments. That's why most college coaches, Jimmy Johnson was successful. 1 year, Chip Kelly was successful. There's really college only going to the pros. Jim Harbaugh is an NFL quarterback. He doesn't count. Making those adjustments is everything. And that's going to be the problem for Ryan Grubb. Great concepts, but unless you can react what's coming to you, you're in trouble. The offense should be much better when Metcalf gets back. Hopefully it's a short-term miss, but if he's out for a period of time, Geno, 21 to 29, 212, 0 touchdowns, a pick. There's that. All right, everybody, enjoy the Sunday night football game. I am going to check out. We'll be back Monday, this channel, 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll go over waivers. We'll go over different level reactions with Anthony Servino. Wednesday, we'll do the waiver show on YouTube, RotoWire Fantasy Football YouTube. That'll be 11 a.m. Wednesday with Joe Bartle. Everybody, thanks for hanging with me. Good luck. Enjoy the game, and we'll talk soon.